Chris Johnston dropped a massive bomb on Leafs fans this morning with the idea that a contract extension could be coming up for star forward William Nylander, breaking down the idea that he could be extending here, why Chris Johnston thinks so, and some concerns we have for this possible upcoming contract. Welcome back to Third Man In. I'm Zack Phillips. If you saw some of the news that was popping out there this morning, you would have seen exactly what I'm talking about. But if you didn't, just for reference here, Chris Johnston was on the Leaf Report podcast this morning with James Mirtle and Jonas Siegel, and he had this to say in regards to William Nylander. I don't think there's any reason to think Nylander won't sign an extension in Toronto. Here's the dirty secret of that negotiation, in my opinion. The Leafs know he doesn't want to play anywhere else. What the Leafs could pay him over 8 years and what another team, if he leaves on July 1st as a free agent, can pay him is not really that different. I'm willing to say I would put it at least 90% odds Nylander is a Leaf next season. So we'll break down this statement from Chris Johnston that I saw on Twitter this morning and pulled from Account for Hockey over on Twitter. So shout out to them for pulling this quote from it. I went and listened to the clip after the fact to get a little bit more insight, a little bit more context into everything that went on. Chris Johnston effectively in this suggests that maybe the Leafs come in at $9.5 million by 8 years, so $9.5 million AAV, which, as he brings up, totals $96 million. In order for another team to equal that or just even slightly better that, they would have to go $11 million at 7 years. So $11 million AAV over the course of 7 years. And the reason they have to do this, obviously, is because if the Leafs were to re-sign him, they're the only team in the NHL that are allowed to sign him for that 8-year deal. If he goes to free agency, they can only sign him to 7. So when you do up the math that way, it's very, very easy, very simple. You're going to come in at an $11 million AAV on any other team around the NHL. So for them to even match the amount of money that the Leafs are trying to offer, they're going to have to go well above where the Leafs are at, coming in even $1.5 million per year higher than what Toronto could possibly offer. So that's first and foremost there. But a lot of the other statements that Chris makes within this kind of it alludes to other things more than just the money and where things are at. He goes on to say Nylander loves Toronto. He wants to be in Toronto, and even specifically pointed out there, the dirty secret of the negotiation, in his opinion, is that the Leafs know he doesn't want to play anywhere else. Now, the thing for William Nylander within all of this is that, yes, it's possible that he doesn't want to go anywhere else, but if that money arises somewhere else and they're going to pay him more money, if someone comes in and says, hey, we want to do this, then he could just very well leave. Like, it could be as simple as that. I'm kind of interested to see how this all plays out over the next little while because, I mean, as Chris reports here, this is also his opinion, so we don't know this for fact, but Nylander seems very comfortable betting on himself, waiting things out, seeing how long things last. So he is the guy who held out to the very last minute to sign the contract that he's currently playing on right now. He's got some balls. He's willing to wait. And he could kind of put pressure back on Toronto. Yes, he would have to get $11 million elsewhere. But that kind of leads me into like the second part of all of this, concerns that I have myself. First and foremost, the salary cap is going up, expected to go up at least from $83.5 million where it is right now to about $87 to $88 million. We could see approximately $2.5 million jump up next season to that. Then it could go up after that, and again, and again, and again, if the NHL revenues continue to rise and rise and rise. The other thing with William Nylander here that is concerning to me is this. I tweeted out during the game last night, 3 games into the season, William Nylander has effectively been probably the second best forward on the Toronto Maple Leafs through these 3 games. Whether it be being dangerous every time he's on the ice, the highlight reel goals that he's creating, and whether that's him scoring them himself or creating them via assists, he has been a dominant force for this Leafs team up front offensively through 3 games. He's also the guy that in camp, they tried him out at center, and he actually looked okay at center. He played center in the Marlies. He played center when he was playing junior and minor hockey. He knows how to play center. He's got a little bit of a versatility to him. The other thing on top of all this, and with William Nylander, which is something that I've come to appreciate within his game over the last couple of years, he continues to add tools into his bag on top of the fact that he's getting better at the things he already had. He's a good skater. He's a great shooter. He's a good puck handler. All of those things got better. He also has had a little bit more commitment to defense, which he didn't really have when he first got in the league. He's gotten a lot stronger. He wins battles. He's not as afraid. And maybe the most important thing of all, especially for this Leafs team and the other guys that they've got here, William Nylander has been one of the most consistent playoff performers that they've had over the last 3 to 4 seasons. He's been the one guy that you look at every single game and you pretty much say, that guy played really well tonight. Aside from that one play that he had in Tampa where he kind of chinsed away in the corner and didn't fully commit to it, he has been pretty incredible when it's come playoff time for this Leafs team. And as far as guys go for getting paid for doing things in the regular season, William Nylander is a guy who's done really good things in the regular season and been pretty great when it's come to the playoffs. So for Toronto, this might be a guy that you actually have to prioritize to re-sign and make sure you bring back to your team because he actually has been a difference maker come postseason. One of the more reliable guys that you have up front of those 4 who are being paid about 50% of your salary cap. So you have to kind of keep that in mind. Now, on top of all that, where I was going to is that through these first 3 games, as well as he's played, tacking on how well he's done in the playoffs, tacking on how much he continues to improve as a player, basically game after game after game throughout each of these seasons, not even season to season, just throughout one season itself, he seems to get better from game 1 through to game 82 and then into the playoffs, is that if William Nylander continues at this pace that he's on right now, that $11 million over 7 years or per 7 years, it might not actually be that much to another team. There could be a team out there who's looking, going, wow, we've got a great defenseman. We've got a great goaltender. We've got a centerman. We need that winger. We need that elite goal-scoring winger to play alongside them. We don't care if he's the most defensive guy. We don't care if he's the most defensively responsible player on the ice because we need somebody to score goals. He scores 40 last year, career high. Who knows? Why would he not be able to score 40 this year? He's got 3 goals through the first 3 games so far this year, and he's put up a bunch of highlight reel plays together. There is a strong possibility William Nylander actually continues to increase his value by the end of the season. So it's very possible that he's not even going to come in at 9.5 by 8 by the end of this year. He could come in at 10.5 on a Leafs contract. So for another team to match, they might just say like, hey, we'll go that 11 for you. Yeah, you're going to get 1 less year, but we'll go 11 or 11.5 with the salary cap increasing. Maybe some team has room out there for him. Maybe they make room for him because at that point in time, the Leafs are going to try to squeeze that in there because of the other contracts that they have. There could be other teams out there just willing to sit there and say, we'll pay you that money. We will find that money for you because we think what you bring as a goal scorer with your speed, your versatility, the fact that we've seen you continue to develop as a player, we think you can fit in here and push us over the edge, and we'll pay you 11 and 11.5. And then maybe they even look at him and say, hey, buddy, you're playing on the second line there. You're second fiddle to Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner at all times in Toronto. You can be the number 1 guy here. That is obviously all things considered with him if he does have any sort of interest in like, okay, yeah, maybe he'll leave, whatever it is. But if he is in love with Toronto, he does want to stay here, then yeah, you've got to lean towards him probably staying. But I think that one of the most important things Chris Johnston brought up in this is that if the Leafs come in at 9.5, some other team has to come in at 11 to match that money. It is not an AAV basis. You do have to remember that, and I think that that was a very important point by Chris here. But the other thing that Nylander could very well do, it is very possible, Austin Matthews did it, Mitch Marner did it, is just not sign for 8 years. He could be willing to sign for 6 and saying, I'll sign for 6, I'll sign for 7 in Toronto. I'm not looking for 8. Give me my 11. I'll go to some other team and take 11 over 7 because I'm not looking for 8. It's possible that he's looking for that as well, but as far as Chris Johnston says, 90% odds that William Nylander re-signs here. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this in the comments below. I did lay out some of my concerns. Just wanted to kind of react to that, break it down a little bit. But if you did enjoy the video here today, again, please make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications here on this channel. We are trying to build it back up to what we had before. So turning on those notifications, you won't miss a single live stream or video that we do here. You're not going to want to miss any of that. You will get all the instant updates, injuries, news, trade rumors, and opinions on top of that about everything going on with the Toronto Maple Leafs and some of the bigger stories around the NHL. So make sure to subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts below. And as always, keep believing.